These are the 3 Klymit sleeping pads that I use. The first sleeping pad that I'm going to go over is the Klymit Static. This sleeping pad weighs 18.1 ounces. This sleeping pad takes roughly 10 to 15 breaths to blow up, so you can do it relatively quick without a lot of effort. This has been the pad that I use the most, particularly in the summer months or in the warmer weather. This is the sleeping pad that I take while I'm backpacking. As you can see, it's relatively small, so it's easy to pack. A couple things that have really stood out to me about this sleeping pad is its durability. The tent I use does not have a floor, so you're sitting right on the ground while you're sleeping. In most situations, I don't take any sort of a liner to put this sleeping pad on, so I've slept with it on rocks, on grass, on bushes, over sticks, pine cones, you name it. I've never had a single puncture take place with this pad, so it's extremely durable. It is pretty comfortable, especially when your whole body's laying on it. One thing to make note of is if you're trying just to knee on it, your knees will go straight to the ground, so there's not a lot of padding unless your whole body is spread out across it. It is a little bit noisy when you're rolling around. It's a little bit slippery, and so sometimes if I haven't had a perfectly flat spot, I've tended to slide real easy off this pad. This is a non-insulated pad, however I have used it in colder conditions on top of wet ground, even cold ground from snow, and I've been able to stay warm on the bottom portion of my body inside my bag. So although it's uninsulated, it does work pretty well in about every situation that I put it in. This pad is 72 inches long and 23 inches wide. Myself, I'm about a little bit under 6 feet tall and weigh about 165 pounds, and I fit very well on this pad. The next pad I'm going to go over is the Klymit Insulated V Ultralite pad. Now this pad, unlike the other one, is insulated, so it does provide a little bit of extra insulation from a cold ground while you're sleeping. This pad is 16 ounces, so it is actually 2 ounces lighter than the previous pad that I went over. This pad is also 72 inches long, but only 20 inches wide, so it's a little bit more narrow. Being that this pad is only 20 inches wide and a little bit more narrow than the other one, I tend to leave this one at home more than the uninsulated option. I move around a lot in my sleep, and so what I found with this pad is I tend to slide off it and not actually end up sleeping on it half the night just because it's too narrow for me. This pad is comfortable. It does do well at masking any hard ground or small rocks that you don't get moved out of the way, and it's also durable. I put in a lot of situations similar to what I mentioned with the previous pad and haven't had any issues with tears or rips. Here are the 2 pads put together. As you can see, the one I just went over is a little bit shorter than this one, but it's a little bit fatter. It does seem to have a little bit more of a larger stuff sack, so it doesn't suck it in quite as tight. The last pad that I'm going to go over is the Klymit Double V. This pad is designed for 2 adults to sleep on it. This pad, it weighs in at 2 pounds 7 ounces, so it is a bit larger than the other 2 that I went over. Not a pad that you'd want to carry on your back backpacking. That being said, though, I do use this pad quite a bit in the mountains, especially if I'm taking horses. As I mentioned previously, I move a lot in my sleep, and so this is actually the #1 pad I take in those situations where I have horses that can pack a little bit of extra weight than myself. It gives me a lot more room to move around in the night. This pad has also been very durable. As I mentioned previously, my tent that I use does not have a floor, and so under most circumstances, unless you pack a liner, I'm putting it on the dirt, on rocks, on bushes, sticks, pine cones, you name it. Haven't had any issues with punctures, and so for the period of time that I've used it, it's done very well at not having any leaks. This pad is also 2 inches longer than the other 2 that I went over. The other 2 were 72 inches, this one's 74. And so if you're a little bit taller of a person, it gives you a little bit more room to move. It's also 47 inches wide. Again, it's made for 2 people. 2 people could get a little bit crammed on it, with it only being 47 inches wide. But for 1 person sleeping on it, you got a lot more comfort. The other 2 pads were also 2.5 inches thick when blown up. This pad is 3 inches, so you do have a little bit more protection from the ground as well. All 3 of these pads I've been very impressed with and will continue to use them. If you have other pads that have worked well for you that you would recommend me trying out, please leave a comment below so that I can test them out in the future. If you have any questions regarding any of the pads that I just went over, don't forget to leave a comment. For more videos just like this going over the gear that I use on my adventures, please subscribe. Thank you for watching today.